Tyler Moore, I feel like WoW's story used to feel like an escape. Today's story reflects too much of what's happening IRL, and what we really miss is the escapism in the story.
So, right, this is something that I've wanted to say for a long time.
It's being bursted out.
Yeah, and I know it's going to be controversial, but I think I can say it in a way that people understand me, right? Everyone has been saying for 9 years now, let's say, people don't want politics in their video games.
Yes.
And then those people will turn around, like, you'll be like, I don't want politics in my video games. What's one of your favorite series? I actually really love Metal Gear Solid. And people go, no, what do you mean? That game's really political. But you run the translation layer of what they actually meant to say. And what they mean to say is, I don't want games that reflect current modern day politics in a way that is like reminds me of real life, and I have to think about it. I want games to be an escape and either future facing in the way MGS2 was, or a little bit more like past, or even back in like the early 2000s. It was very, if you wanted to have like modern day political stuff, it felt like very strong parody or statement that didn't highlight things that was kind of shitty, but it was more like, oh yeah, everyone kind of understood then. But now it's like, well, here, all this, we don't want to be reminded of things that we don't want to think about when we're playing video games. Unless it's specifically like in the fantasy tropes of like, heroism and sacrifice and all those like grander ideals. But people don't want to reference to like, if I open a video game and it's like, well, who's that character? Oh, that's fucking Rishi Sunak. Obviously that's clearly supposed to be Rishi. Like, oh, there's Rishi and there's his fucking rich wife and they're scamming the shit out of the country. It's like, you don't want to see that in a video game. You want to see that on the fucking news. And that's why you play a video game, so you don't see that in the news.
There we go. Steve Denuser ruined World of Warcraft by putting Rishi Sunak in the game. That's it.
Yeah, it's like the perfect example of doing it right is, again, a Metal Gear reference, but Metal Gear Rising, right? You see Senator Armstrong and you laugh your head off because it's so obviously parodical and so obviously hilarious that you're not like, well, this is a wee bit too real. You're just like, this is some goofy shit, let's go. And that's, I think, what people actually mean.
I think it's keeping it being fun and interesting. Yeah. And I think sometimes you can maybe over index on some of the details and make it sound preachy. But the thing that'll actually get people like empathizing with that, understanding it, actually really enjoying it is, I think, just when it's more deftly told and doesn't feel like it's hitting you over the head all the time. Like, good example, Battlestar Galactica. Very good in its own merits. Is everyone just, like, do you obviously know, like, well, can you say the, 9 plus 9 plus 2 in the America, in the New York, in the 2001?
Pretty sure you can, yes.
Okay, well,
yes,
Battlestar Galactica is obviously very, very post 9/11 America. Yes. Taking a look at society and how human civilization organizes itself and does its shit. That's woven through the entire thing. But first, and actually, there were some people who were ridiculous because they just wanted Battlestar to be, 80s Battlestar, which, like, it's fun and iconic, but it's in many ways not good. It's okay, we can say that.
I mean, I think where like Flavio puts it perfectly here with the super, like, folks don't want real life partisan ideological politics; they want more political themes.
Yeah,
and it's very much that. People want
the core issues. Not the core issues. Like, people want the real truth. They want the art to be about the truth. That's kind of like, going through all of the noise and stuff of like how it's kind of hashed out in public, where it's very messy. I think people want like the bigger thematic exploration, of those things. And I think sometimes in shows they can try to do those things in a way that feels like really forced and artificial, because the people creating the show want to touch in this, like sort of modern thing, but they haven't really integrated it well, perhaps, with the show's narrative, or they've not really had like, or not really given themselves enough like screen time to explore the idea, so then it ends up feeling like quite rushed, which is like continually happened, and it's what really annoys me. People are like, oh, Admiral Holdo had pink hair. This is what half the internet's on about. They're like, here's the thing though, what's he called? Poe. Poe's a fucking moron. Like, he's legitimately really stupid in so many of the decisions that he makes. It's like every time there's a bunch of X-Wings in a Star Wars movie, you're like, oh yeah, there's fucking Rad 1's dead, Rad 2's dead, Rad 3's dead, Blue 5's dead, and they're just fucking dropping off like flies. I was like, yeah, because they're led by this gung-ho moron. So whenever Poe is getting absolutely dressed down for getting all of his people killed, she's right. The problem is The Last Jedi was a pretty, I mean, it had elements that were cool, right? Some cool visuals, you know? And it was trying to hit in some themes and stuff, right? But its main problem wasn't that it had Poe get dressed down by somebody who happened to have pink hair. Like, that was just handled badly. Holdo should have been probably given more screen time. Yeah, they should have actually chose, you know, what things are we doing with the characters that we have so we can properly explore them, instead of being like, okay, we're going to talk about arms dealers and exploitation, and we're going to talk about that on our trip to the casino planet where we get to talk about animal cruelty, and then we're going to, and then, you know, you're like, why does this movie feel like a mess? Where it's like, if you could have just done, Luke's having a bit of a struggle, Poe's got in some ways the right attitude but makes bad decisions, and maybe you like remember to have Finn be a character. Finn's probably the most promising part of you know, of the first of the new trilogy movies, and they completely waste his character. Like, no wonder John Boyega is fucking salty over you know, over his involvement in Star Wars. And then you just have all these people who are like, forced political, Holdo, pink hair, ree! And no, it's like they could have had their political things. They could have had those, but maybe they could have done like fewer of them, and then the ones that they did do, they actually explore well, instead of, to a viewer, it feeling like them just ticking off this social issue, ticking off that issue, ticking off that. I guess it's that thing. People say they don't want politics in video games, yet they really like Metal Gear Solid. And they like Kojima. And it's like, no, they don't not want politics in games. They might say that, but if they like Metal Gear Solid, that's definitely not what they mean. And in order to actually work out what's going on, we need to understand that their language is not precisely describing the problem that they're getting angry about.
Yeah, I mean, I think Red Swenson puts it nicely. They want a reflection of truth, not to stare at its ugly face.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, it's a little bit allegorical, but definitely there. And there's a one in chat there a second ago. Yeah, it was Lady DeMontis saying, I'm simply tired of political things being about whatever's current thing in the USA. And that's kind of it. It's like, yeah, tell a story about the themes and stuff. Sure, fine, work, right? But
a lot of people in the States don't understand it because they obviously are a very massive cultural exporter. Yeah. But yeah, outside of the States, we're really sick of all of your stuff making it into all of the media. It's just really tiresome.
Sure is.
Is basically how I'd put it. Because, well, it is what it is. Maybe we should just try competing by making more art ourselves.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the problem. And like,
it's like you can't really blame the Americans for telling stories that come from an American context. They're American in America. Right? It's like, yeah, and the market's rewarding them by turning up and paying for it.
Yeah. The cultural homogeneity spawned by Hollywood being the central land for everyone to go and everyone filtering through ideas. Yes. And the physicality of it basically more thing. Important.
It's been maybe, you know, all the British actors maybe want to move to LA. And, you know, the people who are making the big decisions end up being Silicon Valley tech companies or, you know, stuff like that. I think, yes, that's what kind of frustrates people. That being said, it is nice to see like more South Korean stuff appearing on Netflix. It's nice to see more foreign language movies appearing. That's pretty cool. I don't know. You'd hope that would have some sort of positive impact.
I mean,
it's like, hey, people watch Battle Royale and they don't go, oh, Battle Royale, terrible movie, too political. Even though you're like, do you know what Battle Royale's about? You know, Battle Royale, the Japanese. Japanese movie.
PUBG, no.